Good morning again. It's good to, like I said, good to be back amongst you this morning. And I trust I can be a blessing to you. A lot has been said lately about what God has for us and accepting that. I want my flowery beds of ease. I don't know about y'all. I like for everything to be comfy and cush and, just right, comfortable. I like to be comfortable. I don't like to struggle, Miss Linda. I like for everything to be A-OK. But that's not life, is it? That's not life. Why? Listen, if we look in these scriptures over and over again, we find that life is a struggle. Life is a battle for us. We're not home yet. We're not home yet. And I want us to look at a familiar story. There's really nowhere I can go in this book that if you've been saved long that's not familiar to you. That's in Exodus 14. Exodus chapter 14. Coming up to the crossing of the Red Sea. This is a very famous miracle. It's referenced several times in the Old Testament and several times in the New Testament. God has delivered his people out of Egypt, and he gives them some orders here. This story, like I said, it's been made famous. There was a movie that was made about it years ago, and it kind of ruined it for me because every time I think of Moses now, I see Charlton Heston. Behold, holding up his staff there. But I'm sure Moses didn't look like Charlton Heston. In fact, Deuteronomy says that Moses' natural force hadn't abated, nor his eyesight waned, because he had spent so much time with God. Ain't that amazing? But, how Hollywood wants to paint this. But this is a well-known miracle. I mean, most of the world, because of that movie, that generation had a very familiar connection with this miracle. And I find myself a lot of times thinking, this does not apply to me because I've not experienced a miracle like this. Or have I? That's the devil. The devil will convince me that, listen, it was a miracle to get to come here this morning. It was a miracle to get out of bed this morning. It was a miracle that I thought about God this morning when I got up. I could have had something else on my mind, but his grace. But see, we discount this stuff because these people are not us. This don't apply to me, but it does. I'll read some verses here. We'll start in verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they turn and encamp before Pihahiroth, before Migdol, and the sea, over against Baal-zephon. Before it shall ye encamp by the sea. For Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, They are entangled in the land, the wilderness hath shut them in. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he shall follow after them. And I will be honored upon Pharaoh and upon all his hosts. And the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord. And they did so. So I want to ask you, if you're where God has decreed you to be this morning, are you on easy street? Now I want you to notice here, this is God's sovereign decree. He tells them they're headed to Canaan land. He says, no, turn. We're going to come over here. We're going to stop. We're not going to keep moving forward. We're going to stop. And Pharaoh is going to get word of this. And he's going to say, they're lost out there. They've become entangled in the land. Out there, man, we could spend a whole day right there, entangled in the land. Are you entangled this morning? Don't get in. Listen, this is not our home. I've got so many good friends that are getting entangled in politics. They'll get entangled with family. Idols. What is an idol? An idol is something that we love more than we love God. I told you a while back, We mold our idols, and then what do our idols turn around and do? They turn around and they mold us. So Pharaoh here is going to think that they've become entangled in the land. They've got snared in the wilderness. Hey, they got out of here, but guess what? They don't know where they're going. Listen, as we follow the Lord, it's going to look foolish to the world. As we put our faith and trust in Him and follow where He leads me, I will follow. Your faith is going to make you look silly. Noah built a huge ark, and it had never rained before. His faith his faith to the world, it looked crazy until it started raining. You imagine back then, houses didn't have no roof. If you were selling umbrellas, you were in a fix, weren't you? But we can be right where God tells us to go, and to the world it will look foolish. Pharaoh, God said, I'm going to harden Pharaoh's heart, and he's going to come after y'all. If you notice here, it says that God's going to harden his heart. He's going to give him over to what he wants. He's going to embolden him, if you will. Listen, what does Romans 1 tell us? Paul said he gave him over to a reprobate. Now listen, he did not put Pharaoh in a trance here. All he had to do was let Pharaoh be Pharaoh. This is what Pharaoh wanted. And folks, listen, if God has changed our heart, we should fall on our knees and be thankful to God that this is not us. We've not been given over to our lust. See, if you'll flip over here in chapter 15 and verse 9 real quick. The enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoil. My lust shall be satisfied upon them. I will draw my sword, my hand shall destroy them. He's been given over to it. That's all. Simply blinded by his own passions. Blinded by his own passions. And it was told in verse 5 here, and it was told the king of Egypt and the people that the people fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and of his servants was turned against the people. And they said, why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? Again, Pharaoh and his servants given over to their pleasure. Listen, if God has opened our eyes today, we're not entangled in the wilderness, we should be thankful. Thankful to Almighty God. Listen, this is Pharaoh's response to a sovereign decree. Pharaoh's response to a sovereign decree here. Listen, the world does not like the freedom that we have. They're in bondage to their and enslaved to their sin, and they see the freedom that we have, and they're jealous of it. That's why we have the persecution that we have from the world. They don't like our freedom. They don't like our liberty. They have, listen, this whole country has been destroyed by God by 10 different plagues. 10 different plagues. And finally he broke them. But as you can see here, they've not repented. Their heart's been changed. Have you ever seen, we often fall for this. We think if this person would just have this experience, if God would just, cause this to happen to them. Well, that's not the way it works. It takes a heart change, a heart transplant, if you will. And we can see here the depravity of man. And we will self-destruct if God does not intervene. By Friday of this coming week, Clay could be in shambles without God's grace. It is by the grace of God I stand before you this morning. Because like I said, an unholy person trying to teach a holy God. But it's His grace that bears us up for this. Verse 6, and he made ready his chariot, and took his people with him, and took 600 chosen chariots, and all the chariots of Egypt, and the captains over every one of them. Notice how expedient it is here. He didn't take foot soldiers. They loaded up the chariots. They're faster. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And he pursued after the children of Israel, and the children of Israel went out with a high hand. But the Egyptians pursued after them all the horses and the chariots of Pharaoh and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them, encamping by the sea, beside Pihahiroth, before Baal-zephon. Now, the point I'd like to make here is, briefly, are the children of Israel where they're supposed to be? God led them here. God put them in this strait. Have you ever had him do that to you? Listen, this is typical. In our life's journey, God puts us in these straits to show us he can bring us out of them. Time and time again, I can see where God, following God in the center of God's will, and turn around and here come the Egyptians. God delivered me from my sin, and I wake up the next morning, and what does it do? It wakes back up. It girds the horses. It gets in the chariot, and I turn around, and here it comes again. Here it comes again. What am I going to do? It's what the Lord has for me. It's what the Lord has for me. I told you, that's become a common saying at our house the past few weeks, in case you hadn't noticed. Easter morning, or Easter Sunday, Sunrise Sunday, however you want to term it. We got up. I was on call that week, and that we had Good Friday and Bad Saturday, and I hadn't had any calls. I thought, this is going to be good. Sunday morning, we're getting ready. 9 o'clock, my phone rings. It's a call with a problem. And I'm out there foaming at the mouth, trying to fix it, mad. And my wife comes out and she says, calm down, it's what the Lord has for you today. And I told her, I said, if I wanted John Smith, I'd call him. But she was right. That is what God had for me at that point in time. Now what did he do? He delivered me from it. He delivered me from it. You know what he showed me? Hey, if I want you to stay home, guess where you're going to be? My sovereign decree is going to go forth, and you're going to be sitting right there in that chair where you don't want to be and working. Where you don't want to be and working. Or you can acknowledge me, acknowledge my deliverance. Now, thankfully, it was operator error, and it was something I could fix. It wasn't nothing major. And as y'all know, we got to come and worship with y'all. But again, little things like that. Listen, the Egyptians show up, don't they? I feel like sometimes mine show up with more than 600 horses and chariots. I don't know about y'all. They bring the whole army. Hey, he's right where we want him. Listen, Pharaoh had a plan here to ruin the children of Israel. This was God's plan to ruin him. Listen, we see things right now in the world that's troubling to us. Look at our country. Look at what's going on. And it can be frightful. Listen, mountains on both sides, the sea in front of us, that's where they're at here. We'll get there in a minute. The sea in front, they're between a rock and a wet place here. The Egyptians bearing down on them. Listen, most of us have never had anybody pursue us to capture us or kill us. You can't imagine the fear here. And these people, Pharaoh and them, they're emboldened. Listen, they've forgotten their funerals. They've forgotten having to, you can see the wicked depravity of man here. They've forgotten they've had to bury their firstborn. The funerals are over. Their amended behavior that they've let them out, now they're recanting the good deed that they've done. They want them back. Hey, our servitude, the people that were serving us is gone. We're having to do all this ourselves. What were we thinking? Let's go get them. And listen, ain't that the way it is in our Christian life? God saves us, delivers us from Egypt. We get out here on our way thinking, we're going to arrive, brother. We're going to reach that plateau. And we turn around and here they come. Here they come. Here comes that sin. Here comes the devil. Wanting to retake us, wanting to capture us back. Well, we see Pharaoh's response here to this sovereign decree that God has given them. Let's see what the children of Israel do. In verse 10 here, and when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their their eyes and beheld the Egyptians marched after them. And they were not afraid. They remembered all the signs and wonders that God had done in Egypt. It don't read that way, does it? You know what? My life don't read that way either. So tell me I can't identify with this. That Sunday morning, what was I doing? Foaming at the mouth. It wasn't doubt, it was rage, really, at what God had for me that day. I'm going to get up tomorrow. I've already got planned tomorrow what I think I'm going to do. I don't know which angle the Egyptians are going to come from yet. But you know what? We say we have an uncertain future. That's a falsehood if you're a Christian. We serve somebody that knows our future. Listen, this is a sovereign decree. He told the children of Israel, you turn, you go here. I'm laying a trap. I'm going to finish off the enemy. And instead of trusting God, what do? And that's the main thing I want to talk about this morning, is doubt. Doubt. My wife said, what are you going to preach on? I said, sin. And she said, well, you should preach on gluttony then, because everybody will be convinced you've mastered that. I said, I'm going to preach on the sin of doubt, basically. Doubt. We think that's unique to us, because in our hearts we think we should be perfect. We know we should be perfect, but we can't get there. So then we feel unworthy, and then we start doubting ourselves. Well, I'm not good enough. God doesn't love me. Here He has brought me out here, put me in this position. I'm right where He said to be. Listen, you know what? This morning, I am more at peace that I am where God wants me to be than I have ever been in my life. At the end of a dead-end road, dirt road. He led us here. And to vanquish all that doubt, you know what I told Him? I said, Lord, you know where I'm at. You know what the address of that place is down there. And when I get there, I'm not going to be every other week. Lord, have you got somewhere else you want me to go? When you get ready for me to move, you move the cloud forward. I wanted to seal that. Don't undo in doubt what we've done by faith. Don't undo. See, in Exodus 4, Moses and Aaron came and showed the elders of Israel the signs and wonders, and said they bowed and worshipped. What are they doing here now? What are they doing here now? They're sore afraid. Sore afraid. You know what that means? That means had the daylight scared out of you. Can you imagine looking and seeing that dust cloud? They're out in the desert. You know there's a big dust cloud kicking up behind 600 chariots. Seeing that coming at you. Now listen, God's already told Moses here what's going to happen. God's already told Moses, and Moses is a mediator for these people. He's God's representative, and on the other side, he's Israel's representative. They were sore afraid, and the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord. And they said unto Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dealt with us to carry us forth out of Egypt? Now they're blaming the preacher. Y'all ever done that? I stand before you as preaching this morning, and I think of all the times that I've sat there in the pew and ridiculed the man behind him. Why? Blaming him for my problems. And now look at where I'm at. Look at where I'm at. But again, Moses, why didn't you leave us alone? We were doing fine. Listen, you know what? There's a danger here, because there's comfort in familiarity. Demas hath forsaken me, having loved this present world. We all got to admit, if we were out there alone, there's some things out there we loved. There's some chariots out there and horses that beckon us back. There's some Egyptians that say, come on back. Come on back. They're telling Moses, we've been better off slaves than for you to brought us out here. But see, we think these people are better than us. They're doubting. Doubt. No faith. No faith. You know why a lot of people aren't here this morning? Why our churches aren't full? They're out there making bricks for the Egyptians. They'd rather be in bondage than in the freedom. Listen, God's going to make a way here. God's going to... No graves. Were there no graves in Egypt? Why didn't you just leave us there to die? Leave us there to die. Listen, if you were to ask an Israelite in Deuteronomy, they would tell you, hey, who are you? This is a beautiful picture of this story, and it's told by a scholar, an Old Testament scholar. So if you ask an Israelite, who are you? He would say, we were in bondage in a foreign land with a death sentence basically hanging over our head. We were delivered by the blood of the Lamb. We passed over from death unto life through the Red Sea. And we became a community. God gave us the law and a tabernacle. And we're not to the promised land yet, but He's in our midst. He's in our midst. What does that sound like? Don't that sound like us as Christians? We were in a foreign land in bondage, delivered by the blood of the Lamb, the Passover. And brother, you pointed out the other day, and that is good. It didn't matter what was inside the house as long as the door was applied. It didn't matter what was inside the house as long as the door was applied. But anyway, back to what I was saying here. Back to the point here. It's claiming that they would prefer to be in bondage rather than out here serving God. Watch what Moses said to them. It's not, in verse 12 here, is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? And they never said that. See, now they're lying. Y'all know any lying Baptists? Let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians. For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. They've done give up. Hey, it's over. You ever been like that? You've been in the strait where God's put you. You find yourself at the dead-end road in juniper jungle like Elijah. You say, Lord, I'm alone. Only me left serving you. Go ahead and take me home. It's over. See, folks, that's why this is here. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. That's why this is here, for us to see. People are people. These were God's people. These were God's people. And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which He will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. I love what Moses does here. He does not answer the fool in their folly. He does not answer the fool in their folly. He does not reinforce their fears. He doesn't argue with them. He says, don't be afraid. Now I'm going to tell you something. When you're scared, or if you know somebody's scared, what's the worst thing you can tell them? Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Why not? It's hard to break out of that, isn't it? When you are genuine, listen, I have a fear of heights. And I have tried and tried and tried to over that fear of heights. I've got up on flat roofs. I've got up on angled roofs. I've been places I shouldn't have been. And I cannot shake that. My brother and my daddy, they can walk the ridge line of a house like a cat. You know, and I look like a cat being dragged backwards in the carpet. Because I'm sore afraid. I'm sore afraid. And listen, this is genuine fear here. These people are fearing for their lives. They doubt. I guarantee you, every one of us in this room, by 5 p.m. tomorrow, we'll be encountered something where we'll doubt God can handle it. God performed them 10 plagues. Listen what God did. He turned the water to blood. There were frogs. lice. He made the cattle sick, boils. He rained fire and hail down, sent the locusts. They had darkness. And then, of course, Passover, the death of the firstborn. What did God show them here before he even brought them out? He's like, I control nature. I can control the weather. I can control the beasts. I can control life and death. Now we get out here. You know what? God's probably out of power. That probably has taxed him, and he's exhausted. See, we want to impose our human weaknesses onto God. That's our connection there to our doubt. That's how we justify our doubt. Hey, I can't do this. And by the way, that's what God's doing here. He's bringing them to the point where they cannot save themselves. Can you save yourself? I cannot save myself. In fact, Moses said, fear not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord. You ain't going to have no part in this. You ain't going to have no part in this. Stand still. Now, you know what? As a soldier, it's easy to march. I like to be moving. At the house, I'll start pacing, and Melissa say, why are you pacing? Sit still. It is hard to listen. Our imagination wants to run wild. I think it's 2 Corinthians 10 says casting down our imagination and bringing it into captivity. You can't be still if your imagination's running wild. Walk this dirt road at night. I got the faith of David. If that bear jumps out, I got him. You hear a stick break. What was that? We're human, folks. And we're going to need Jesus to do this. To cast down our thoughts and imaginations. So, be still. He says, stand still. Watch what God's going to do for you. Now listen, Moses here is speaking by faith. God has not told Moses what he is going to do yet. Do you see that? He told Moses where to go. He told Moses how to get them into this fix. But he has not told Moses, hey, you're going to part the Red Sea and we're going to walk out of here on dry land. And Moses by faith says, God is not going to let you die. Be still and see the salvation of the Lord. That's the way it is with our salvation. Listen, we can have no part in it. Our flesh can't touch it. You know why in other words, he's saying here, listen, trying to figure out, hey, can we course through these mountains over here? Maybe we can sneak out over here. Our mind automatically takes off and starts trying to solve our problems, don't it? Mine will. I start trying to figure out, maybe if I do this, I can fix it. Listen, this is a sovereign God. He's not taking action to make up for his mistakes. 90% of what I do, I'm taking action to make up for some mistake I made yesterday or the day before. But not God. God is sovereign. This is a sovereign decree. In his providence, he's working this out. And we serve this same God. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So why am I doubting him? Has he run out of power? Now, this ain't the first time these people are going to do this, because a little while later they're going to be, that we were down at the Pyramid Cafe with the all-you-could-eat buffet. They had fried chicken and mashed taters. We loathe this manna. We loathe this manna. You ever been like that? I wish the preacher would do something new. I wish Donald would sing different songs. Maybe get the band hot, the beat good. I loathe the word. Got so good the preacher didn't even have to preach. Hey, that's our flesh. Wanting to save us so that we can glory in it. But what God's going to do here, he's going to deliver them. And they're not going to have no part in it. They're not going to have no part in it. Stand still. Shut your mouth. Hold on, God's got this. And I challenge you this week, as the problems come, as things break, as the Egyptians show back up. Hey, God put me here. This is God's problem to solve. And He's going to solve it. It's not a problem for Him. This is working out by His providential decree. Like I said, He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. We should rest in that. That should throw all doubt out, hadn't it? But I know what I'm going to do. Like I said, I'm going to be walking on that dirt road and I hear that stick break and I'm going to duck. Something's going to happen. And the shadow of doubt will befall me just like that. Why? Because of this flesh. This flesh. Now we know what happened here. Moses parts the Red Sea under God's order. Verse 14 again, the Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. And the Lord said unto Moses, wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward. But lift up thy rod, and stretch out thine hand over the sea, and divide it, and the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. And I, behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them, and I will get me honor upon Pharaoh, and upon all his hosts, and upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. See here, God getting His honor. Listen, if you take a slave people that has no power, and you have brought them out of bondage of this country, you bring them out here. Listen, they have no weapons. They've not fought any battles. They're just fresh out of Egypt. And then you turn around and you defeat this Egyptian army. The rest of the world is going to know that there's a God. Because they didn't do it. You ever come through something and you're like, I know that was God because I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I know I didn't do it. Listen, He said, I'm going to get my honor upon these people. Listen, if we're not going to honor Him, let me just warn you here, if we don't honor Him, He's going to have our honor upon us. This world out here that's refusing to honor Him, listen, the devil don't hide anymore. It's in plain sight. But I'm going to tell you something. You're seeing the hardening of the heart there. They're being given over to their lust and their desires. They're going to pursue into the Red Sea. God's people will come out on dry land on the other side. I love that in that song at Calvary, the mighty gulf. The Red Sea, the mighty gulf that God did span at Calvary. See, when they come out on the other side here, they're out of reach of them. When that sea closes back up and He vanquishes them, they're out of reach of Egypt now. They're on the other side. They're on the other side. They have passed from death unto life. I want you to know this. God did not save them because of their faith here. I mean, Scripture speaks for itself here. See, we think God saves us for the quality of our faith, and that's not true. God saves us because of the object of our faith. You know you had some of them in there when they were walking through the Red Sea, and I know this based on our experience with this plague that's just befallen us. You got people that's scared, and you got people that's you would think is crazy. I'm sure you had some Israelites that were like, yeah, that'll show them. Yeah, God's fighting for us. And then you probably had others that wall of water there's leaking. We're going to drown. Because we're all different. And our faith levels are different. So it's not the quality of our faith. It's the object of who's the object of our faith? The great mediator, Jesus. Listen, that's who our faith is in. And that's who's going to hold back the water while we cross. Secondly, God did not save these people because they were holy. And He's going to save them and bring them over here, and then He's going to make them holy. Listen, the day God converted you, you were not holy. He brought you out and he's made you holy. What was it? I think Paul said, be ye holy, for I am holy. Or, I messed that one up. But anyway, be ye holy, for I am holy. Paul said, follow Christ as I do. That's why I got that crossed over there. So why did God save these people? Why did He saved them for His name's sake? He saved, if you would, let's go to Psalms real quick. Psalms 106. Psalm 106 and verse 7 here. It says, our fathers understood not thy wonders in Egypt, and they remembered not the multitude of thy mercies. We could say a lot about remembering, couldn't we? Remember whenever they crossed Jordan, God had them pull the stones out of the middle of the river? He said, that way you remember. When somebody says, what are these stones? That you'll remember the wonder that He did there. Listen, and I've told y'all this before in the devotionals. I think we ought to make in our mind landmarks of what God has done for us and remember that. It is good to remember. Thy word have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against thee. Why do you need to hide it in your heart? That's committing it to memory. But provoked him at the sea, even at the Red Sea. Nevertheless, He saved them for His name's sake, that He might make His mighty power to be known. There we go. His name's sake. We bear His name. We bear His name. That cute little girl sitting in that pew back there took my name. I converted her to a Wilson. She's never been the same, unfortunately. Listen, God compares us to the marriage. The bride. We're the bride of Christ. We take His name. If He lets us down, or if He fails us, have we lost or is He lost? You see the importance of this? If we bear His name, no weapon formed against us shall prosper. So why am I doubting? The lovely name of Jesus, we bear His name. For His name's sake and to make His power known. Now, if He wants to make His power known to the Egyptians, what do you think He wants to do to you? On a personal level. He wants to make His desire, is not a want, but a desire, is that you know His power. His desire is that Clay knows that no matter what strait He leads me in, and there's mountain ranges on both sides, there's a roaring sea ahead of me, He'll make a way. I'm going to have to stand still and shut my mouth. And behold the honor and the power and the glory that His name carries. Listen, we can just rest in that, can't we? For a little while. Brother, we can pick it up off the table, but we can't hold it. We can't hold it. I mean, look at the disciples. Jesus put them in a boat. He went back to the boat and went to sleep. Where did they go? It said they followed Him into the boat. They were following Jesus. They followed Him into the boat. And that's in Matthew 8. They followed Him into the boat. He led them out into the storm while He was in the back of the boat sleeping. And they rushed back there and said, Master, carest thou not that we perish? And I read that and I think, Jesus is with them and they're worried about that. What kind of people is this? And then when all this started happening with COVID and all, I was over in Jessup my last day over there, as a matter of fact. I come back and everybody was calling, telling me all this. And I said, Lord, carest thou not that we perish? And He said, where is your faith? Where is your faith? Well, I didn't put my faith on this morning. Doubt made me look skinnier. So I decided I'd wear it. Where is your faith? And then he did it again with Peter. He constrained and put them in the boat. That means y'all getting in the boat regardless. At the night watch, Jesus comes walking on the water in the storm. Peter said, Lord, is it you? Bid me come to you. He said, come on. When did Peter start to sink? Peter's faith sustained him, but his doubt sunk him. There's Clay's story. Summed it up right there. I take my eyes off Jesus. I begin to look at the world. I begin to see the Egyptians coming. I'm looking at the dust cloud, thinking, that's a big army. I hope God ain't run out of power yet. And if you notice, God didn't tell Moses, hey, I just noticed what's about to happen over here. We're going to have to do something. See, he's not like us. Listen, we're under his name's sake. We are his. He is going to take care of us, even in death. When we cross, we're not home yet. When we cross chilly Jordan for that last time, he's going to go with us through that. And amen. I'm glad he will. I want to close with 1 Corinthians chapter 10. First Corinthians chapter 10, we'll read verse 11. Now all these things happened unto them for in samples, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. Now you know in the previous verses here it talks about where they crossed the Red Sea, and some of them fell a lusting and a murmuring. And he's telling the Corinthians here, he said, this is recorded for your example and for your admonition, so that you don't make the same mistake. Listen, we have the completed Bible here. And we have less power than we've ever had because of our doubt, our lack of faith. We don't trust. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus. Y'all know Melissa can cook. And she has a couple of cookbooks at the house. And she was watching an interview the other day with Julia Child. And Julia Child was talking about writing a cookbook. And she said there was one recipe she tried 29 times. But she recorded the accurate way to make that. Listen, we have a recipe book here for life that's recorded that we can successfully navigate it. But you know what we do? We look to Facebook for our answers. God help you if you do that. Or we look inward for the answers. We'll call brother so-and-so or sister Wigglejaw. What should I do about this? Rather than take it to the Lord in prayer. Listen, don't let doubt sink you this week. I hope I've encouraged you. Listen, these people are just like us. We read this and we think, they were special. They were special. They were God's people. You know why they were God's people? Because they were not Egypt. They were enslaved by the Egyptians. God brought them out of it. And they still doubted him. But for his name's sake, he showed mercy anyway. Avail yourself of that mercy. His mercies are new every day. And remember, we bear his name. I love you. I hope I've been a blessing to you this morning. I hope you've got something from this. Use it this week. Use it this week. Be not just hearers of the word, but let's be doers of the word. I love you. May the Lord bless you.